Hello and welcome to another squad guide. Today we will be looking at the mighty Canaries, aka Norwich. New to the Premiership this year, so it should be an interesting one. I'll just quickly go through what happens in these videos. Basically, we go through to see all about the club, really. So as well as looking at the good youngsters and the best players of the squad and what areas might need strengthening, we also look at the finances, transfer budgets, wage costs, make sure we've got a bit of wiggle room there, and also I'll see what the actual board require of us this season so we don't get sacked. I'm hoping it'll be avoid relegation, but if they so top half, they can go fuck themselves. So first you get a message from the director, and all they want you to do is develop players using the club's youth system. That's fine. I think most FM players like to do that. Moving on to the finances, there is $5.5 million in the bank, and we have 12 million to spend. That's very nice. You can definitely bring a couple of good players in for that sort of money, and we also have about £74,000 of wages. So that's really good. So we've actually got some. We don't actually have to sell to buy, which is nice. Let's look at the competition performances to see what they prefer, what they require us to do. So minimum expectation is that you avoid relegation, kind of as expected. FA Cup 5th round and League Cup 3rd round. Okay, I think that's all pretty fair. Now I won't go through all the youth players, but I will have a look at just like the top potential guy according to the scouts of the club. I'll let you guys find the rest of the little gems. In fact, I'm not going to have a look at any of the under-18s because they're not that good. We'll have a quick look at Callum. It's okay. Good work rate, teamwork. He's not bad. Good heading. He's somebody you could work on. I think he could be a decent player. Whether he becomes a starter, I don't know. Moving on to the under-21s. So we've got a few decent ones here. We'll just have a look at the top couple. So Lewis Thompson is the biggest talent here at the club. He's a central midfielder. A ball-winning midfielder is his preferred role. You can see that by his tackling, his marking. He's got good positioning. So two of the important factors when looking at a young player is that you want to make sure, ideally, they have good work rate and good determination, and this will help them reach their potential ability because basically they're not lazy. And if you look at this guy, work rate 18, determination 14, he's going to improve it drastically. He's going to really do well. Bravery and aggression is good. Maybe a little bit too high on the aggression. There's going to be a few yellow cards. Decent physicals. He's only 20 years old. He could definitely be somebody that's going to be a first teamer, I think, in the future. Give him some game time, or if you can't, get him a loan move. 20 years old, perfect age for a loan move. If you're going to keep him at the club, get him some game time and get him a tutor. And we'll look at Josh Murphy. Seems to be the next sort of brightest talent. Another 20-year-old English kid. Can play as a winger, can also fill in as a striker or behind the striker and play right wing. He is left-footed, really good pace and acceleration, good physicals all round really. Work rate's not fantastic, but determination is good. He's got all the main skills of a winger here: crossing, dribbling, 12 and 14, good technique. Yeah, another player that could really do well, I think. Not quite on the scale of Lewis Thompson, but a really good player. Let's take a look at the full team. So we won't go through every player in great detail. We're just going to sort of skim through some of the positions just to make sure we've got decent players. So in goal, we've got John Ruddy, who's a decent enough keeper. I don't think you would be looking to maybe improve on that position first season. And Declan Mudd as his backup. He's alright, but he's a perfectly fine backup. So I think that's fine for maybe the first season. You might need to start looking at that once you've strengthened other areas of the squad. So as for right backs, we have Stephen Whittaker, who's 31 years old. He can play right back, he can play left back. He's alright. He's kind of a good all-rounder. I think he's more, for me, he's more somebody you'd have on the bench because he can play a few positions. He's not getting any younger. Yeah, I think he's a decent sort of squad player, but I don't think you'd really want him as first choice. Now, other players you can play as right back, you've got Elliot Bennett, who's not really a right. His tackling, his marking. If you click on the right back and then a fullback, you can obviously see the important stats. Tackling, marking, anticipation. yeah, they're not great. He's definitely more of a winger, so he can fill in. And then we've got Andre Wisdom on loan from Liverpool. Again, a player I do prefer centre back, but he can play right back. You need to maybe work on his, depending on how attacking you play, work on his attacking skills. But a really good player. He should get a lot of game time this season. You've got Michael Turner, who's loaned out, so we'll just move him. Same as Ricky. I'll let you guys decide what you want to do with those players once they come back. So yeah, on the right front, we've got Russell Martin, who's also... Okay, he's a bit more rounded. He's a bit more attacking than the other right backs we've seen that play centre back. His heading's only 11, so actually he might be better to play at right back, to be honest. But 29 years old, not getting any younger. Right back's a little bit weak there, but you've got a few players that can play it, but just not that well. So left back, we've got Martin Olsen, 27 years old. Plays as a left back, but can play all the way along the left. Decent player, marking's good, tackling's good, decent pace, acceleration's good, fitness is good because wing backs run all day, so that's nice. But can get a forward as well, dribbling 12 and crossing 13. Decent player, yeah. I think maybe he's, depending on what we can see in the others, your first choice. But we do have Robbie Brady. Again, can play left back, but not really. He's definitely more of a left winger, so we'll leave him until left winger time. That's it. Okay, so I think ideally you'd want somebody that can play right and left back. I think would be one of my purchases, just to fill a few gaps that are here, because you've got some centre backs that can play right back but not great. I think that's maybe where I strengthen. So on to midfielders. You've got centre midfielders. You've got Gary O'Neill, who can play defensive midfield or centre mid and fill in a few other positions. 32 years old, so starting to decline now. As you can see from his pace is dropping, acceleration is pretty slow. But really good mentals, work rate, teamwork, decent leadership. He's definitely somebody that can be a captain or vice captain if need be. He's an okay player. He's not worth much, so there's no point real selling him. I'd probably keep him about the place for this season. Alexander Teti, another centre mid, ball winning type midfielder. 29 years old, so also just starting to peak now. Again, half decent leadership, teamwork, work rate good, strength and stamina's good. His technicals are a little bit iffy, but half decent player. How do you pronounce this? Vadis, right? Vadis. He's a Belgian. Everyone loves a Belgian. Not that great, really. We can fill in. Did you buy him this season? No, you bought him last season. He didn't play much last season either in the Championship, so you kind of know where you are. 2.8 million. I'll probably cash in on him, unless you need him as cover. Malumbu, another defensive midfielder, another ball-winning midfielder. So there's definitely somewhere you can get rid of. I obviously keep Malumbu. He's a great player. His physicals and mentals are absolutely brilliant. Yeah, he's a quality player. I'd probably look to, as I said, probably get rid of a couple of these maybe. They're all quite defensive. And then the more attacking wise, you've got Johnny Howson, a little bit underrated. I quite like this player, but a good all-rounder. There's nothing that stands out, but nothing bad. And there's no real weak points in his game. You've got Wes Hoolahan, plays attacking mid, but can fill in at centre mid. Good attacking player. I think that's his perfect position as is. But he's 33, so I would say good for a season or possibly two, but somebody you definitely need to look to start replacing. We'll have a look on the sort of winger front. You've got obviously Nathan Redmond, one of the brightest talents, quality player. I really rate him in real life. He's a proper speed merchant. He's good at dribbling, tackling. What's his flair? 14 flair. Work rate and determination. Determination's good. Play both wings. Yeah, he's a quality player. I think somebody you can really work with. He's going to improve. He's only 21. It's not. So I think he'll definitely be in your first choice plans. You've got Matty Jarvis on loan. Another really good player. I think he'll be one of possibly your first choice, along with Nathan Redmond. Decent pace still. Acceleration 18. That's beastly. He will start dropping off, but you're on loan. Who cares? He's on loan. Who cares? I do have a future fee. No, so you don't have a future fee. So, he looks like good enough to definitely get games. And then we have Graham Dorrans, who's okay, good versatile player. Somebody maybe to have on the bench and come on. I think more than anything. And then obviously you've got Robbie Brady. We had a quick look at is also a left winger, and Elliot Bennett is also a right winger. So between there, you've got 5 good wingers there. At the 4, I like Redmond and Jarvis the best. And then strikers, you got lots of choice. So we have Cameron Jerome, who's 28 years old. His physicals are really good. He's really pacey. Which forward you choose in this squad might be based on what sort of role you prefer to use. Like this guy can play as a target man. His heading's okay. It's not great, especially for a target man. I probably wouldn't play him as a target man. His first touch is a little bit iffy. Off the ball's decent. Composure's okay. He's all right. Those stats. It's not. He's worth 6 million. We'll have a look at the other strikers and then sort of evaluate. Lewis Grabban, the guy you got from Bournemouth. I probably prefer this little guy a little bit over Cameron Jerome. His first touch is better. His composure is only one worse. Off the ball is much better. First touch finishing is all good. Lots of pace as well. Yeah, he's probably, for me, he's a little bit just a small upgrade on Cameron Jerome. We have Carl Lafferty, who starts the game with a month injury. He's alright. He's the 3rd best out of the ones we've seen. He's a good all-rounder, I'd say. He says it's a target man, so maybe that's his best position. Then we have Gary Hooper. Another good all-rounder, really. Decent finishing. First touch is 14. Composures. He's got slightly better striking stats than the other players. But whereas they have a little bit more pace. But they're all very close, these 5 strikers. And then this guy. Who the fuck is this guy? Mbugani. I do apologise, Norwich fans. 5 million future fee. 29. He's 29. He's another oldie. Really good player, though. Really, really good player. Who is the old loan from? I've never heard of him in my life. Died by Kiev. Okay. I really like this guy. I think he's definitely there. I think... So you've got 5. If you're playing one up top, I think... Couple can go. Maybe Hooper and Lafferty. And then it's kind of personal preference or your play style, I think. But for me, I'd be looking to... sell one of my defensive-minded midfielders. You've already got a bit of money. So let's say if you've got 5 million for a defensive midfield, you've got 7... How much was the money? 12 million. So let's say if you've got 5 million for a defensive midfielder, you've got 17 million there. I think I'd buy somebody that can play right and left back, or at least one of those, just to deepen the area of the squad. And I buy a centre midfielder, but just a bit more of a sort of advanced playmaker type role, a bit more of a passer, rather than, because a lot of these are quite defensive. And that means you've only got a couple of others that can play like higher roles in the midfield centre position. So that's about it. Other than that, it's a decent squad. I think it'll be a fun one, trying to avoid relegation, and if you can build from there. Thank you very much for joining me, guys. I think next I'm doing Crystal Palace, I think. I've got lots of others. I've done 12 others-ish so far. So please take a look at them, and please subscribe for tons and tons more YouTube content and Football Manager goodness. Thank you very much for joining me, guys. Bye.